If you're like me, you have a room full of paint in tiny little jars that's mainly used for model building. Or you have a life and you can go out and get said paint in tiny little jars. And why do I mention this? Because if you're also like me, you're probably usually in hot water with the wife or husband or significant other, and you need a way to get out of it. And this is where you can put those tiny little paints to work for you. What am I talking about? Repaints. Yes, the wonderful world of repaints. My wife constantly brings home hideous objects with dollar store paint jobs that she wants me to repaint. And this is how I stay in her good graces, and I thought I'd share this secret with you guys. So let's take a quick look at the last get out of jail free card that she brought home for me to repaint. She brought home a skull and rose candle holder she wanted me to repaint for it. It's actually a very nice sculpt, but she's right, it definitely needs a repaint. I think we'll stick with the red roses minus the glitter and ditch the black skull for a more realistic look. To get the process started, I gave it a good cleaning in soapy water and let it dry completely. And now, with it in the booth, it gets a full coat of primer. The primer will give it a consistent base color to paint over and also a surface for the paint we'll be using to adhere to. With the primer dry, I'll continue by painting the skull portion bone white with the airbrush, and I'm not worried about overspray. It will get cleaned up when I add other colors. I want to make sure it's painted from all angles, including the bottom, so when it's dry, I put some wax paper down and flip it over so I can paint from the bottom. I like to use the wax paper just to make sure that what's already painted doesn't stick to the table. I've learned that one the hard way. I'm going to do the roses by hand with a brush, starting with gory red as the main color for the flowers. At this point, I'm really just blocking in color, nothing fancy, almost like a paint by number. I'll do the exact same thing for the leaves, but using dark green, again just blocking in color, taking a little more care around the edges of the flowers and the skull. That has all the basic colors blocked in, and it already looks 100% better, and in all honesty, I could probably stop here and the wife would be perfectly happy. Now, I consider my wife pretty special, and I'm generally in some kind of serious trouble, so I think we'll take the detail one step further. And to do that, I'm going to be using washes, so I'll lock in the base colors with a coat of satin clear. This will give a good surface for applying washes over, while also preserving the base colors below. Now we can start the fun part of the project by adding all the washes and highlights and everything that really makes the project come alive. Back at the work table, I mixed some dead white into the gory red to create a pinker color for highlights on the roses. I apply it with a very dry brush, only hitting the tops of the surfaces. I'm basically creating artificial depth and variation in color. With a completely dry brush, I blend the edges of the pink so there's not any harsh color blends. Using diluted black wash. Now this is a black wash that's been diluted by about 50%. I hit all the dark areas, letting it pool and flow down into the rose petals, not overworking it for the most natural look. It will dry much lighter, so I don't worry about adding too much, and I also make sure and hit the borders between the roses and the skull. With the black wash dry, I move to an undiluted brown wash. Starting with the skull, I give the whole thing a coat of wash and wipe it back with a cloth. This really starts to give the skull some character and really brings it to life. With the whole skull done, I'll go back and hit the areas where I want to give the impression of more depth and detail. Continuing with the brown wash, I move to the leaves. Here I'm going to use it more for a variation in color, trying to mainly target the veins of the leaves and the edges. Gives more of a natural look to the leaves. And last, I want to add more depth to the eyes and nose areas, so I just go back to the black wash and apply it into those areas. And another coat of satin clear, and it's all done. I really hope the wife likes it. Without much effort, you can go from this to this. So next time you're out at the store and you see something with that cheap assembly line paint job, don't necessarily just pass it on by. It could be your next ticket out of the doghouse. Thanks for joining me, guys. Leave me those comments down below. Hit that like button down there and subscribe if you want more content like this. And I'll see you next time.